Good day everyone. So we are the group non-presenters. I am Noby Ann Operaña. And we have here Mr. Adrian Lemar Respicio, Miss Angelica Salas, Mr. Cristian Talana, Mr. Dominic Suarez, Miss Janine Peralta, Mr. Jezreel Joash Pasion, Miss Leyla Adrienne Palattao, Miss Katherine Mae Sican, and Miss Kyzle Mae Pescasio.
Now let's begin our presentation. C++ programming. It's been almost 3 months of taking this subject, and in such a long period of time, we've learned a lot of things. Now we're going to present the compilation of it. We have here the table of contents. The objective of this presentation is to recall all of the things we've learned and to be able to share to you our own understanding about it. So let's begin with the history of C++ programming. The mastermind behind the inception and development of C++ programming language is Bjarne Stroustrup. C++ was developed by Bjarne Stroustrup at AT&T Bell Laboratories. C programming language was first introduced by Dennis Ritchie at AT&T's Bell Laboratories, USA in 1972 and was implemented for the first time in DEC PDP-11 computer. Dennis Ritchie used the concepts of BCPL and B to develop C and added data typing and some other powerful features. Dr. Stroustrup began developing C++ in 1979. When he was working on his PhD thesis, one of the language Stroustrup had the opportunity to work with was a language called Simula. Simula language gave the idea about C++, which, as the name implies, is a language primarily designed for simulation. C++ was originally called C with classes and was built as an extension of the C language. Its name reflects its origins. C++ literally means increment C by 1. It was renamed C++ in 1983 and it includes some add-on features such as classes, polymorphism, inheritance, encapsulation, inlining, strong type checking, and default function arguments. And finally, in 1985, Stroustrup reference to the language entitled the C++ programming language was published. So that's all for the history of C++. Now we're moving on to the basic elements of C++. We have here Miss Janine Peralta, presenter.
Become familiar with the basic components of C++ program, including functions, special symbols, and identifiers. Function is a collection of statements, and when executed or accomplishes something, it may be predefined or standard. Syntax, rules that specify which statements or instructions are legal. Programming language, a set of rules, symbols, and special words. Semantic rule, meaning of the instruction. On-screen are the special symbols generated in C++ program. First, the positive sign, asterisk, the slash, period, semicolon, or our terminator, question mark, comma, less than or equal sign, not equal sign, double equal sign, and the greater or equal sign. Also, we have keywords or the reserved words, which includes the int or the heading of the function, float, double, char, const, void, and return. Identifiers consist of letters, digits, and underscore character and must begin with a letter or underscore. C++ is a case sensitive. Our two predefined identifiers are cout and cin. Our legal identifiers in C++, the table 2.1 presents the examples of illegal identifiers. For our first row, there can be no space between employee and salary. For the second row, the exclamation mark cannot be used in an identifier. For the third row, the symbol positive sign cannot be used in an identifier, and for the fourth row, an identifier cannot begin with a digit. Data types. Data type is a set of values together with a set of operations, and data types fall into three categories such simple, structured, and pointers. To begin, for simple data types, three categories of simple data types. We have integral, numbers without decimal, integers, floating point, decimal numbers, enumeration type, user-defined data type. For the simple data type, integral data types are further classified into 9 categories such char, short, int, long, and bool. Unsigned char, unsigned short, unsigned int, and unsigned long. The table 2.2% the values and memory allocation for 3 simple data types. For the first row, our data type, int, bool, and char. The second row provides the value, and the second column provides the values, and the third column provides their storage and bytes. int data types, positive integers do not need a positive sign, and no commas are used within an integer. Bool data type consists of 2 values, which such true or false. Char data type is the smallest integral data type, used for characters such letters, digits, and special symbols, and each character is enclosed in single quotes. A blank space is a character also. Arithmetic operators and operator precedence. C++ arithmetic operators are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus operator. This operator can be used with integral and floating point data types. And for the order of precedence, all operations inside of parentheses are evaluated first. The operators for multiplication, division, and the modulus operator are the same level of precedence and are evaluated next. And the addition and subtraction have the same level of precedence and are evaluated last. When operators are on the same level, perform from left to right associativity. Expressions. If all operands are integers, expression is called an integral expression, and it yields an integral result. If all operands are floating point, the expression is called a floating point expression, and it yields a floating point result. For mixed expressions, mixed expression contains both integers and decimal numbers and has operands of different data types, contains integers and floating point. For string type, sequence of 0 or more characters enclosed in double quotation marks. Null is a string with no characters, and each character has relative position in string. Position of first character is 0, and length of string is number of characters in it. Assignment statement is takes form, variable is equal to expression, semicolon. Expression is evaluated and its value is assigned to the variable on the left side. In C++, equal sign is called the assignment operator. And the example 2.13 and 2.14 shows the assignment statement example. Declaring and initializing variables. Variables can be initialized when declared. And all variables must be declared before use. In input statement, CN is used with the double greater than sign to gather input. The stream extraction operator is double greater than sign. And using more than one variable in CN allows more than one value to be read at a time. Example 2.17%, the CN input in statement. Variables initialization. There are two ways to initialize a variable: by using assignment statement or the statement operator, which is the equal sign, and by using a read statement, CN, and the extraction operator. And for the output, the syntax of cout and the insertion operator is called the output statement. The stream insertion operator is double less than sign. Expression evaluated and its value is printed at the current cursor position on the screen. For output, a manipulator is used to format the output. An example, NDL causes insertion point to move to the beginning of the next line. The first column are the statement, and for the second column are their outputs. Table 2.14 commonly used escape sequences shows. For the first row description, cursor moves to the beginning of the next line. For the second row description, cursor moves to the next tab stop. For the third row, cursor moves one space to the left. For the fourth row, cursor moves to the beginning of the current line, not the next line. And for the fifth row, backlash is printed. Also for the sixth row, for the single quotation mark is printed. And for the last row, double quotation mark is printed. For the next topic, may we have Miss Katherine Sican for creating a C++ program.
Creating a C++ program. To create a C++ program, there are steps to follow. So we are going to display Hello World using C++ program. So first step is open dev C++. The second one is to click File, then New Source File. So as we can see on the picture below, the file is located at the left side. And then click the New and then the source file or Control N. Next, Untitles 2 tab opens. So as we can see on the picture below, there is an Untitled 2 tab which is being opened. And then, type this code to Untitled 2 workspace. This program or code will just display Hello World. So here, the code is being inputted. And then it will display Hello World later on. And then next, Ctrl S to save your code as C++ file. After inputting the program or code, you have to save it as C++ file. And then, Press F11 to your keyboard to compile and run the code, as we can see on the picture below, just like this one. Next, you can see here the errors and warnings from your code. If no errors or warnings, the program will immediately execute and displays the output. So, here is the displayed output, which contains hello world. So let's proceed to example number 1. C++ program to print number entered by user. So first, we will input the preprocessor directive and its header file, which is the #include iOS stream and using namespace std, followed by the function int main and then open brace where the code will be inputted. Next is the int number because we are talking about integers. And then the cout statement tells the user to enter an integer by using the cin function. And another cout statement which displays the number being entered by the user and then return. So, when we run the program, the output will be like this. Example, I entered number 3 and it will follow the statement you entered 3. It means that any integer that you enter in the first statement will also be the corresponding integer in the second statement. It will always be the same. And then next, example number 2, C++ program to add 2 integers. So here is the program. And here is the displayed output. And then example number 3, C++ program about getting the average of the 3 numbers. So here is the program. And then this is the displayed output. So here is the next presenter who will discuss the next subtopic, Mr. Dominic Suarez.
Hi everyone, so now I'll be discussing the control structure. A control structure is like a block of programming that analyzes variables and chooses a direction in which to go based on given parameters. C++ provides control structure that serves to specify what has to be done by our program. C++ has only 3 kinds of control structures, which from this point forward we refer to as control statements. The sequence statement, selection statements which has 3 types if else and switch, and repetition statements which also has 3 types, the while, for, and do while. So under the control structure, I'll just discuss the selection statement. C++ provides 3 types of selection statements. The if selection statement either performs or selects an action if a condition or predicate is true, or skips the action if the condition is false. The if-else selection statement performs an action if a condition is true, or performs a different action if the condition is false. The switch selection statement performs one of the many different actions, depending on the value of an integer expression. The C++ selection statement, if and switch, provide a means to conditionally execute selection of code. The if exists and if not exist statements allows you to conditionally include code depending on the existence of a symbol. We have here the flowchart for a selection statement. First, we have to start, then next the condition. So when the condition is true, the code inside the if body will be executed, and if the condition is false, the code after the if statement will be executed, and then the program will stop or terminate. Now let's see the individual topics for the syntax for each statement. First, the if-else. The if statement can have an optional else clause. Its syntax is if, then the condition, then the block of code if condition is true, then the else clause, then the block of code if the condition is false. The if-else statement evaluates the condition inside the parentheses. Now we have the flowchart for the if-else. If the condition is true, it will execute the if body and the statement just below if and then exit. And if the condition is false, it will execute the else body and the statement just below else and then exit. Now let's see how C++ else if-else works. If the condition evaluates true, the code inside the body of if is executed and the code inside the body of else will be skipped from execution. And if the condition evaluates false, the code inside the body of else is executed, then the code inside the body of if will be skipped from execution. Now we have here some example for if-else statement. First example is, it is a program that checks if it's even or odd number. So first we have the preprocessor directive, which is include IO stream, then the namespace we use, which is std, then the beginning of function name main, and for the variable declaration we have int num and int value, and next is the output statement. The user will be asked to enter a number. Then if value is equal to num modulus 2, if value is not equal to 0, it will execute you entered an even number. Else, if the value is not equal to 0, it will execute you entered an odd number. So here's the sample output for the first example. Enter the number 67. Since 67 is not equal to 0, it will execute the else condition, so you entered an odd number. I also have here two more examples. So for the first example, it is a program that asks the user if his or her age is qualified for the summer. So here is the code. Then the sample output. When you enter your age 19. So your age is qualified for a summer job. Then the next example is a program that asks the user for his or her preferred soda. Then also here is the code. The user will be asked for what soda do you want. Then here's the sample output. Now let's hear Mr. Cristian Talana for the nested if statement.
Good day everyone. So now let's talk about nested if. C++ nested if else. Sometimes we need to use an if statement inside another if statement. This is known as nested if statement. Think of it as multiple layers of if statements. There is a first or outer if statement, then inside of it is the inner if statement. So here is the syntax. Outer if statement. If condition 1, then proceed to the body of statements. Inner if statement. If condition 2, then proceed to the body of statements. So here is the flowchart of nested if statement. If the test condition 1 is true, statement 3 will execute. When test condition 1 is false, the program will check for the test condition 2. If it is true, statement 1 will execute, else statement number 2, then exit. So we have notes. We can add else and else if statement to the inner if statement as required. The inner if statement can also be inserted inside the outer else or else if statement if they exist. We can nest multiple layers of if statement. So here is the basic example of a nested if statement. Example 1. A program that classifies the letter. We have set up the codes #include iostream using namespace std and integer main. We have a declared variable character letter. So the programming will ask the user to enter a letter. And we have a outer if condition. If letter is greater or equal capital letter A, and letter is less than or equal capital letter Z, we have a statement of it is a capital letter. Outer else condition, we have a else. Body of else statement is it is a small letter. Then we have inner if condition. If letter equal to big letter A, or letter equal to small letter A, or letter is equal to big letter E, or letter is equal to small letter E, or letter is equals to big letter I, or letter is equals to small letter I, or letter is equals to big letter O, or letter is equals to small letter O, or letter is equals to big letter U, or letter is equals to small letter U. It has a body of statement. It is a vowel. You have an inner else condition, else, and have a body statement is it is a consonant. So here is our sample output. Enter a letter, then enter a big letter L. It is a capital letter. So here is the basic example of nested if. Example 2, a program that seeks players for a basketball team. So first, let's set up the codes. #include iostream using namespace standard integer main or int main. First, and then we declare the variable integer age and string gender. First step, the program will ask the user to enter his or her gender. Then after that, we proceed for the outer if condition with the condition of if gender is equals to male. Then we'll go for the inner if condition. Before we go to the inner if condition, the program will ask again for the user to input his age. If age is greater or equal to 18, you have a statement of you are qualified for the team, while else you are not qualified for the team. When our outer else have a statement of you are not qualified for the team. Like I said earlier for the flowchart, if the test condition 1 is false, statement number 3 will execute. When the test condition 1 is true, the program will check for the test condition 2. If it is true, statement 1 will execute, else statement 2. So here is our output for this example. Enter your gender, male. How old are you? 16. Then you are not qualified for the team. So here is another basic example of nested if statement. Program that asks the user to input his or her points in ML and determine the equivalent rank. So set up the codes. #include iostream using namespace std or standard integer main, and we have a declared variable which is integer points. So the program will ask the user to enter his or her points. We have an outer if condition. If points is not equal to 0, then we proceed to the inner if condition. If points greater or equal 1 and points is less or equal 199, we have a body statement of your rank is mythic 5. Then we have inner else condition. Else if points is greater or equal 200 and points is less than or equal 299, and have a body statement of your rank is mythic 4. Else if points is greater or equal 300 and points is less than equal 399, and have a body statement of your rank is mythic 3. Else if points is greater or equal 400 and points is less than equal 499, and have as body statement of your rank is mythic 2. Else if points is greater or equal 500 and points is less than or equal 599 and have a body statement of your rank is mythic 1. Outer else condition and have a body statement of your rank is mythical glory. Then we have a sample output. Please enter your points. Then we enter 705. Then if the statement will executed is your rank is mythical glory.
For loop. For loop is used for executing a block of statements repeatedly until a particular condition is satisfied. For example, when you are displaying number from 1 to 100, you may want to set the value of a variable to 1 and display it 100 times, increasing its value by 1 on each loop iteration. The syntax of for loop is initialization, condition, and update. Initialization is initialize variable and is executed only once. Condition, if true, the body of for loop is executed, and then if false, the for loop is terminated. Update updates the value of initialized variables and again checks the condition. Flowchart of for loop in C++. Initialization expression is the process of locating and using the defined values for variable data that is used by computer data. For example, an operating system or application program is installed with default or user-specified values that determine certain aspects of how the system or program is to function. And then test condition, which is evaluate to determine if the execution of the for loop will continue. And for the loop body, the sequence of statement to be executed when the continuation test evaluates to true. Update expression, the third and last component listed. It is typically an update to the loop control variable, or update is executed after each iteration of the loop body. Update expression will be the test condition, and then if the test condition is false, it means loop terminated. So we have here example, display a text 3 times. Include iOS stream is your header file, and then using namespace std uses to organize names or program entities. And then int main means that our function needs to return some integer at the end of the execution, and we do so by returning 0 at the end of the program or contains the body of the program. So here we use syntax of for loop, which is initialization, condition, and update. So our initialization is int I equal to 1, and then for condition is I should be less than equal to 3, and then for update is incrementation plus I. So the value of I is 1. So since the update is incrementation, it will add 1. So I will equals to 2, and then going back to the condition, we're going to check if it's true or it's false. So 2 less than equals to 3 means that's true because the condition is I less than equals to 3. So it will display the 2 text output. So next, the I value now is I less than equal to 2. So since in incrementation, it will add 1 again. So I will equal to 3. So we're going to check again if it's true or false. So 3 less than it equals to 3. It means true. And then if the value will increase up to 4, that means it's false, because the condition value is I less than equals to 3. So if false, it means the loop will terminated. So the three text output will display, which is We love you, sir. So, that's how for loop works. Another example is a program that displays the next 5 consecutive numbers of an input. So, this is the program, and then this is the output. Next example is C++ program to find the sum of the first n natural numbers. Positive integers such as 1, 2, 3, and are known as natural numbers. So this is the program also, and then this is the output.
Okay, let's proceed to while loop. C++ while loop. The syntax of the while loop is while the condition and the body of the loop. Here, a while loop evaluates the condition. If the condition evaluates to true, the code inside the while loop is executed. The condition is evaluated again. The process continues until the condition is false. When the condition evaluates to false, the loop terminates. As we see in the flowchart of while loop, the test condition of the while loop body will be executed when the condition is true, and if the condition of the loop is false, the loop will terminate. Example 1. Print the value of A from 10 to 19. This is the process on how the code will be executed. Hashtag include IR stream using namespace std int main. The local variable int a equals to 10, and the while loop is while a is lesser than 20. Quote the value of a and l, a++, and return 0. And this will be the output. Value of 10 is equals to 10, value of a equals to 11 until it reaches 19, because in the while loop it considers that a is greater or a is lesser than 20. Condition, the value of a is equals to 10, which the condition will be true and will be executed. And if it is number 11, same process of the 10, the condition is true until we reach the 20, which the condition will be false. The condition will be terminate now. And another example is example 2, a program to print the table of using a while loop. This is the process, and this is the output. Example 3 is the sum of the negative numbers only. Same process, but not same output.
A nested loop consists of a loop statement inside another loop statement. The number of loops depends on how complicated the problem is. Suppose a loop or the outer loop running n number of times consists of another loop inside it, the inner loop, running m number of times. Then, for each execution of the outer loop from 1 to n, the inner loop runs maximum of m times. The outer loop controls how many times the inner loop will be displayed. Meanwhile, the inner loop holds manipulation, computation, and what will be displayed in the output. There are 3 types of nested loop, which are nested while loop, nested do while loop, and nested for loop. In here, we have 3 examples of nested loop. For example number 1, we have a program that displays a pattern with 5 rows and 3 columns. This is the output of the first program. For example number 2, we have a program that shows the multiplication table
which I will be explaining furthermore later on. This is the output of example number 2. The third and last examples for nested loop is a program that displays how many days in a desired week. This is the output for the third and last example. To example number 2, which is a program that shows the multiplication table. We must explain this by line in order for us to understand the program and how the codes work. Starting off with the first line, hashtag include IOStream. As we all know, the core language of Dev C++ is minimal. Hence, this application uses IOStream in order to gain access to the cout and cin keywords. For the second line, using namespace standard, we must ensure that the program uses the standard namespace. This is not strictly necessary. However, without setting the namespace to standard, all keywords from the IOStream library will require a namespace prefix. We can create a new function by providing a return type and name. The primary function of a C++ application must be called main, and it must return an integer, hence int main. This consists of the main body of our program. Cout is an object of the output stream that is used to show output. Thus, it will be able to print what is inside the double quote in the output, which are the words multiplication table. The 2\n is used for shifting to a new line. It has the same function with the end line. Every statement in C++ terminates with a semicolon. The syntax of for loop contains 3 statements, which are the initialization, which sets a variable before the loop starts. Second is the condition. If the condition is true, the loop will start over again and terminates if it is false. And lastly, the update, which is executed every time after the code block has been carried out. The outer loop contains for int I is equals to 1, which is the initialization. The condition is I should be less than or equals to 10, and the update is I++ or incrementation, in which we are going to add 1 to the value of I. Meanwhile, the inner loop contains for int j is equals to 1. The condition is j should be less than or equals to 10, and it also has the update of incrementation or j++, in which we are going to add 1 to the value of j. How do these loops work? We can see that in the output of the inner loop, I times j is equals to the computation of I multiplied to j. So what are the values of I and j and the values of their products? Going back to the outer loop, as said in the initialization, the first value of I is 1. In the condition, I should be less than or equals to 10. Substituting the value of I, which is 1, 1 is less than or equals to 10. The statement is true. Proceeding to the inner loop, j also has a value of 1. In checking the condition, 1 is less than or equals to 10. The statement is true. Therefore, it will display what is in the cout, the first value of I and j, and then the program will perform the assigned operation, which is multiplication of the values of I and j. Since the update is incrementation, 1 will be added to the value of j. Therefore, 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. Going back to the condition, 2 is less than or equals to 10. The statement is true. It will print again the output. I is still 1, and j now has the value of 2. This process continues until the condition evaluates to false. Once the inner loop terminates, the outer loop will be repeated again until it does not meet the condition anymore, which means it will also terminate and the program is finished. Cout endline is for a new line. 0 or the return value of the main function is considered as the exit status of the program. It indicates that the program was successful. In here, we can see the output of our program, which displays the multiplication table. That is all for our nested loop.
Array. In C++, an array is a variable that can store multiple values of the same type. For example, suppose a class has 27 students and we need to store the grades of all of them. Instead of creating 27 separate variables, we can simply create an array double grade 27. Here, grade is an array that can hold a maximum of 27 elements of double type. In C++, the size and type of arrays cannot be changed after its declaration. C++ array declaration. Data type, array name, array size. For example, int x6 here. Here, int is the type of element to be stored. X is the name of the array and 6 is the size of the array. Access elements in C++ array. In C++, each element in an array is associated with a number. The number is known as the array index. We can access elements of an array by using those indices. Syntax to access array elements. Array index. Consider the array X we have seen above. So, the elements of an array in C++ are the array members and array indices. Few things to remember. The array indices start with 0, meaning x0 is the first element stored at index 0. If the size of an array is n, the last element is stored at index n-1. In this example, x5 is the last element. Elements of an array have consecutive addresses. For example, suppose the starting address of x0 is 2120D, then the address of the next element x1 will be 2124D. The address of x2 will be 2128D, and so on. Here, the size of element is increased by 4. This is because the size of int is 4 bytes. So, C++ initialization. In C++, it's possible to initialize an array during declaration. For example, declare and initialize an end array. Int x6 is equal to 19, 10, 8, 17, 9, and 15. So, this is the C++ array elements and their data. Another method to initialize array during declaration. Declare and initialize an array. Int x is equal to 19, 10, 8, 17, 9, and 15. Here, we have not mentioned the size of the array. In such cases, the compiler automatically computes the size. C++ array with empty members. In C++, if an array has a size of n, we can store up to n numbers of elements in the array. However, what will happen if we store less than n number of elements? For example, store only 3 elements in the array. Int x6 is equal to 19, 10, 8. Here, the array x has a size of 6. However, we have initialized it with only 3 elements. In such cases, the compiler assigns random values to the remaining places. Oftentimes, this random value is simply 0. Empty arrays members are automatically assigned the value 0 as shown as in this figure. How to insert and print array elements. Int mark 5 is equal to 19, 10, 8, 17, 9. So here, we have passed an int type array named marks to the function total. The size of the array is 5. Change fourth element to 9. Mark 3 is equal to 9. Take input from the user. Store the value of third person C in mark 2. Take input from the user. Insert at ith position C in mark I minus 1. Print first element of the array C out mark 0. Print ith element of the array C out mark I minus 1. So this is first example of array program to display marks of 5 students. So remember, when we call a function by passing an array, as the argument, only the name of the array is used. So include iOS stream using name std, declare to display marks, take a 1D array as parameter, void display int m5, count C out displaying marks ENDL. The argument marks represent the memory address of the first element of array marks 5. However, notice the parameter of the display function, void display int m5. So, display array elements for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, plus I. C out student I plus 1 mi ENDL. So here the argument marks represent the memory of address of the first element of arrays marked 5. Int main, declare and initialize an array. Int marks 5 is equal to 88, 76, 90, 61, and 69. Call display function. Pass array as argument display marks. Return 0. So the output will be the displaying marks. Student 1 is 88, student 2 76, student 3 90, student 4 61, and student 5 69. So example number 2. Program to display all elements of an initialized two-dimensional array. Include iOS stream using names std, int main, int test32 is equal to 2, negative 5, 4 and 0, 9, 1. Use of nested for loop. Access rows of the array. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than 3, and plus I. Access columns of the array. For int j is equal to 0, j is less than 2, and plus j. C out test I j is equal to test I ENDL. Return 0. So the output will be test 00 is equal to 2, test 01 is equal to negative 5, test 10 is equal to 4, test 11 is equal to 0, test 20 is equal to 9, test 21 is equal to 1. In the above example, we have initialized a two-dimensional int array named test that has 3 rows and 2 columns. Here, we have used the nested for loop to display the array's elements. The outer loop from I equal 0 to I equal 2 access the rows of the array. The inner loop from j equal 0 to j equal 1 access the columns of array. Finally, we print the array elements in each iteration. So last example number 3. A program which prints the sum of all elements in an array include iOS stream using namespace std, int main, int array 5 is equal to 15, 25, 35, 45, and 55. Int sum is equal to 0. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. So the sum plus is equal to array I. See out, sum of elements is an array over n sum. So the output will be sum of elements in an array is equal to 175. Here, we use the full declaration of the array in the function parameter, including the square braces. The function parameter int m5 converts to int times m. This points to the same address pointed by the array marks. This means that when we manipulate m5 in the function body, we are actually manipulating the original array marks. C++ handles passing an array to a function in this way to save memory and time.
So now let us talk about the proposal of practical usage of C++ programming in real world. C++ is a general-purpose, object-oriented programming language that was created in 80s by Brain Starstruck. It is an extension of C, which has the main system programming language for quite some time. In contrast to C, it supports object-oriented programming features like classes. Like C, it is used when a low-level programming language is necessary, while C++ is commonly used for graphics-heavy software such as games, photo and video editing apps, browser. C is most widely used for embedded devices and OS kernels. C++ is a cross-platform language that can be used to create high-performance applications. C++ gives programmer a high level of control, system, resources, and memory. C++ is one of the world's most popular programming languages. It can be found in today's operating system, graphical user interfaces, and embedded system. C++ is an object-oriented programming language which give a clear structure to program and allow code to be reused, lowering development costs and portable and can be used to develop applications that can be adapted to multiple platforms. But for tackling big games in the larger companies, knowing C++ is critical. It's fast, the compiler and optimizer are solid, and you get a lot of control over memory management. It has extensive libraries, which come in handy for designing and powering complex graphics. Games are developed through a code written in various programming languages. Programmers write code that tells the computer the math and logic behind the game. Programmers are usually part of a creative team that includes game designers and artists. The artists design core game features, oversee game testing, and conduct design reviews. Game programming involves artificial intelligence, computer graphics, simulation, and sound programming. It also involves technical skill about gaming system design, level design, scripting, and coding. Most computer and video games are written in C++ or C. Since every language has its pros and cons, and every game involves customized design, operating system interface, speed, etc., there is no language set in stone as the best language to learn for programming video games. C++ can be a great language to learn if you are looking into game development as a career choice or hobby. C++ is fast, efficient, and easy to learn. C++ is by no means an easy language to learn but it can be rewarding not only because C++ games are easy to distribute across various platforms, but also because you can quickly learn C# and other object-oriented language if you already know C++. So now, this is the objective of the proposal. Its objective is to understand how codes and programs operates in the field of games, to enable students to create gaming codes and programs individually or by group, to learn the process on how these codes and programs are being developed.
Methodology. Coding isn't an action destitute of inventiveness. There's a lot of fun, creative ability, and awesome that goes into and comes out of coding as well. Since think almost it, all a programming language really is maybe a way to communicate instructions to a computer. From there, once a code is transmitted, the yield is magical, capable, and clearly also important. One of the leading ways to bring coding to life is through something like games. Said basically, code shapes the building squares of any game. Code is what breathes life into a game. It's what makes character move and foes attack. You can be able to make skeleton of a game with models and game objects, but without code, there's no development, interaction, or game administration. Perhaps the foremost troublesome portion approximately getting begun coding a game comes when choosing what your youthful coder really needs to make. But this time, we utilize C++ programming language in a range to form a game code. C++ and game development. C++ is a versatile programming language that allows those who master it to be able to solve complex problems and get a great understanding of how programs function. It is finally time to get started coding. Before we can display anything on the screen, we need data to back it up, so we'll start with developing the document portion of the application followed by the display of that data. A convenient way to learn this new principle is to create a simple guessing game. This forces you to understand how a language receives input and sends output, how it compares data, how to control programs flows, and how to leverage conditional to affect an outcome. It also ensures that you know how a language structures its code. We will just create a simple program of game and its name casino number guessing game. Before we start the code, we have to install Dev C++ application in order to input the codes because it's an essential tool to have. So here is our first step, which is setup includes a namespace. C++ core language is minimal. Even a simple application requires the use of additional libraries. This application uses IOStream to gain access to the cout and cin keywords. Also, ensure that the program uses the std namespace. So our sample, std IOStream, include IOStream, include string, include C standard general utilities library, hashtag include ctime, and using namespace std. This isn't strictly necessary, but without setting the namespace to std, all the keywords from the IOStream library require to namespace prefix. For instance, instead of writing cout, we would have to write std double column, then cout. Statements in C++ terminate with a semicolon. Create a function. Every C++ application requires at least one function. The primary function of C++ application must be called main. It must return an integer or int. You can create a new function by providing its return type and then its name. So here is the example of create a function int main where you can enter your block of codes. So the next step is implement program logic. The game code must first let the player choose a random number between 1 to 10. Then, winner gets 10 times of the money bet, while wrong bet, you lose the amount you bet. You do this in C++ by establishing the seed of pseudo-random number generation. This sample code also includes the process of the game where you can input your balance, you bet a certain amount, guess a random number, and the condition where you will claim victory or not. So here's the example, like we declare the variable like string player name, int balance, int betting amount, int guess, int dash, character choice, run time 0 or seed of random generation with the cout of welcome to the casino world. So the next step is add do while and if statements. The do while statement in C++ starts with the keyword do and encloses everything that you want C++ to do in braces. Close the statement with the while keyword followed by the condition that must be met in parentheses. So here's a body of our game coding. So here is the explanation. The game code occurs within an if statement with an else if and else statement to provide the player with hints. First, prompt the player from entering a balance in PHP with the cout statement. The cout function prints its output because the cout statement isn't appended with the endl or endline function. No line break occurs. Immediately following this cout statement, tell C++ to enter the amount of bet by using the cin function. Next, the program enters if the control statement. If the player's betting amount is greater than the balance inputted, then the program has to re-enter the balance until it satisfies the condition statement. This breaks the if statement, but C++ is still trapped within the do-while loop because its condition between the betting amount and the balance is not been met. Next, we'll be guessing with a cout statement followed by the cin function. If the condition is not satisfied, it will ask again to re-enter the betting number. This again breaks the if statement, but the program remains trapped within the do-while loop and the betting number will be assigned if you will win or not and depends to the betting amount that you enter. Another cout statement will show the winning number and state whether you win or lose. If the player still has balance, the next cout statement will ask the player if he wants to play again. It is choice. When the player is out of balance or decided not to play anymore, the key condition is finally met. The else statement is triggered and do-while loop ends and the application ends. So here is our final output coding. Building the code and playing the game. The code asks for the betting amount, then asks the user to guess a number on rolling. If the random number generated matches the user input, he wins, else money is deducted. The user can keep playing until he loses all the amount he put in initially. Here is the source code. So here is our game programming code. With the setup includes an iOS stream, then namespace. First, hashtag include iOS stream, hashtag include string, hashtag include C standard general utilities library, hashtag include C time, and using namespace standard and void rules int main or integer main. So the body of our code, block of our code is first we have to input the variables, declare the variables like string player name, integer balance, integer betting time, integer guess, integer dice, character choice, srand time 0, then or seed the random generator, and we have a cout of welcome to the casino world. First, the program will ask the user to input his or her player name. Then the program asks again for the user to input the balance, put his or her balance. With do while loop, with the outer do, we have a system CLS or means clearing the screen system, which is used to make a screen terminal cleared and rules and other. So then the program will display your inputted balance, like your current balance is your inputted balance, Then the inner do, we have see out. Then the program will ask again your betting amount, like hey your player name, like Luna. Then enter amount to bet. Yan. Then we have a conditional. If betting amount is greater than balance, we have a statement of betting balance can be more than current balance, or we can re-enter our balance while betting amount is greater the balance. Then another do while do see out. Then the program will ask again from the user to input his or her guess number from between 1 to 10. Then have a conditional. If guess is less than or equal 0, or guess is greater to 10, then we have a statement of number should be between 1 to 10, or then it will display to re-enter the number. When the while of guess is less than or equal 0, or guess is greater to 10, we have a formula for dice. Dice is equals to rand modulo operator 10 plus 1. Then another condition, if dice is equal to guess, then you won. Then that means the user won. We have then the program will display you are in luck, you have a won. Your betting amount is multiplied by 10. We have a formula for equation for that. Balance is equals to balance plus betting amount multiplied by 10. Else we have a statement of oops, better luck next time, you lost PHP your betting amount. And have a formula of balance is equals to balance minus betting amount. When another see out, then the program will display the winning number. We have the winning number is the formula of dice, which is anything number from 1 to 10 will be appeared. Next, we have a see out. Then the program will display your balance, your remaining balance amount for the next game. Like have a conditional of if balance is equals to 0, see out you have no money to play, then breaks. And then see out, then the user then the program will ask again for the user if she or he want to play again. And then the user, we have a conditional again, while choice is equals to capital Y, or choice is equals to small y, then the code will repeat again from the start to the bottom. Then if the user, if he or she didn't want to play again, then it will display thanks for the playing game, and your balance display your remaining balance. And then these rules of our system, CLS or clearing the screen system, will appear in the very top of the output will appear in the very top, like this. Casino number guessing rules. Choose a number between 1 to 10. Number 2, winner gets 10 times of the money bet. Then number 3, wrong bet will you lose the amount you bet. Then here is our output of that coding. So casino number guessing rules. First, choose a number between 1 to 10. Then winner gets 10 times of the money bet. Third, wrong bet, you will lose the money. You will lose the amount you bet. Then your current balance is, which will display. Then the amount of your betting amount. Then your guessing number and the result of that game. So that's it. For this success, if you follow the code properly, you should get some exact outputs.
The subject, Computer Fundamentals and Programming, has brought inquisitiveness and anticipation at the same time for me, despite the fact that I have no ideas nor any background in this scope. I remember one of the K-dramas I have watched was somehow connected about coding and creating programs, which made me more exuberant. I have learned that computer programming is a process regarding on creating and executing a program in order to accomplish a particular result and to carry out a specific task. Through coding, one can be able to create computer programs such as games, apps, websites, and softwares. My perspective on programming has changed once I started trying to create one. It may be complicated and amusing. However, it was fun, especially when the program runs and contains no errors. It also helps us enhance our logical thinking and our skills in programming and coding. It was hard, but once you become accustomed with it, with broad thinking and an innovative mind, one will be able to conceptualize the best application and usage of computer programming. Through this subject, not only me, but a lot of us are bound to fully understand how programs are created and how codes work. Computer programs has been widely used from the past generations up until now, especially with the rapid evolution of technology, which has brought a lot of benefits to us mankind. Continuous learning and innovation of computer programming will lead us to more programs, devices, and machines that can help build a better world for all of us.
Here is my reflection. Computer programming is not easy at all. You need a lot of effort and much time in order to understand and create your own program. Programming made my second semester challenging and hard. At first, I was worried because I don't have much idea about operating a device regarding codes and programs. At the same time, I was excited because of the fact that as I take this subject, I will learn a lot and discover the world of programming. When we are assigned to do a lab test, I felt nervous because here I go, and guess what? After installing Dev C++, I was excited to do the next steps until I finished it and the output of the first program that we have made says, "Hello world." I told to myself that this is it, the beginning of another storm that needs to get through. Beforehand, I can see the progress on my programming journey, but as days goes by, it's getting harder and harder. I am having self-doubt, anxiety, trust issues in myself because I can't understand the other topics, especially those with complicated programs. It is really hard to keep pace, but I tried my best even though I can't fully comprehend. Honestly, I'm on the midst of giving up and keep on trying, and I am here continuing to learn and pursuing this subject because I realize that even in difficult times, there's always happy moments like when the program output contains no error. I enjoyed taking this subject and even shared laughter despite the difficulty that I have experienced on this subject. I will apply everything that I have learned to my future work as an engineer. I feel thankful and happy because I can finally say that at last, I have finished this subject, Computer Fundamentals and Programming, and I am proud of myself for not giving up. This generation that I belong will surely contribute a lot in the future, even now in the field of technological and modern world.
Here is my reflection. This computer fundamentals and programming subject is really difficult in terms of programming. Programming means to program a machine with a given set of instructions to run. At first, I have no idea in this subject. I didn't tend to search it or ask for it. This subject makes me feel excited because I'm curious on what is programming, how to do it, or what are we going to do here in this subject. So many questions, but all that questions answered when we finally started class. In the first class, everything was okay with me, but not until we reached different topics. I always have a problem with the topic, but I gave it a lot of attention so I could understand it better. I must say that this subject is really difficult. For example, by making program, you need to learn the different language in programming before you can answer or before you can do a program or code on your own. Yes, it's difficult, but it is also enjoyable. Enjoyable because you're going to program by your own and you'll learn a different language in programming. In this subject, you need to study all the topics. You need also to focus on terms of doing program. In this subject, I learned a lot. I learned how to program. I learned that if I don't understand the topic, I'm going to give more attention to understand it better. I learned to give more patience to understand on how to program, etc. You can also get benefits by learning and doing programming because programming is an exercise for our brain that eventually improves our problem solving and logical ability. Programming is hard, but try to understand it. You'll enjoy it after.
This subject is something that boggles and flabbergasted my mind. At first, I am one in a lot of people before entering into programming field are curious to know on how things work behind the scenes, but learning to code and doing programming will teach you to understand the whole picture of the real world, to solve problems we encounter in our everyday living. We are surrounded by a lot of difficulty, and coding has its Titanic to give us a lot of solutions. This is a useful servant why we are able to connect in this digital world.
Way back when I started learning computer programming, I didn't get it at all. I'm sure no one does at first. Beginning is the hardest part. It takes you so much mental effort to understand every single thing, to be able to come up with the right code and run it properly. It's been almost 3 months of taking this subject, and it's such a wonderful journey. I have learned a lot of things from the basic of computer to simulating a program. It wasn't easy, but it gave me a challenge and a knowledge that I'm going to treasure until I achieve my dreams.
As I go back to how I started in this subject, I cannot deny that it is a quite difficult path, but with day-to-day learning and practice, I'm managing to surpass every challenges. This subject taught me a lot of things I didn't know before, and I know I can use it on my future profession.
So this is my reflection. In this semester, I thought that this subject is going to be easy, just like learning about basic parts of computer and so on. Then when we start in programming, I know that this is not going to be easy, even though it's just a basic programming, since I don't have enough knowledge about programming. And by the help of our instructor, I slowly understand the process of our topic. I learned in this subject is its purpose and its importance of basic computer programming. This subject introduces us how actually a computer works, the language of computer, and much all about coding or programming. After all, it was fun doing programming even my other code didn't go well.
This is my reflection. Hello World is the first thing that I made in this subject. I thought that this subject will be easy for me because I have some background about this topic or so-called code. But as the topic continuously getting deeper to it, I was worried because I can't understand and I started to struggle in coding some of the activities of the subject. From Hello World code, it went to Hello Summer for me. But by the help of our instructor, I slowly and started getting to know how to code some, but not all the codes. This subject makes me cry when I can't get the code and can't get the output that I needed. But this subject made me realize that you don't have to quit. You just need to try until you get what you want. Because like what our instructor said, you don't have to be embarrassed when not getting the right answer. Yet, strive for it and you will get it. This subject also made me realize that we're not all born to have these skills to code, but all people can learn and have those skills.
My insights about this subject is, for me, it's slightly difficult because there are some of the lessons that I can't really understand well since I don't have enough knowledge about programming. But even though it's hard, there are some topics or lessons that I've learned, like the basics of programming and the parts of the computer and their uses. And to be honest, I'm really enjoying this subject because it taught me to explore more about computers and also in programming, and to use my logical reasoning to create a program or a code.
First of all, what I can say in this subject is that you need an extensive knowledge, for it is not easy to learn, especially if you are not interested in programming. Because of this subject, I have discovered a lot of new knowledge, and I would understand it without the supervision of Sir Adrian, who guided and supported us on this subject. It's been a great opportunity to us, for we gain a lot of new information about programming that we've never known before. And as a student of Kyzle, it is a great opportunity for us to learn a lot of things about programming.